What is going on, guys? FlightMike here, back again with another daily NBA news episode, and we are on our 5th episode in a row. Shout out to you guys for the support, man. This series has been getting so much support, so many likes, so many subscriptions from you guys. So from the bottom of my heart, man, thank you so much for the support you've been giving me on this daily NBA news series. I'm absolutely enjoying it, but I'm going to keep this intro brief because we have so much to talk about today. All of my favorite comments that include analysis of the previous day's news is going to get included in the very next video. So on your screen right now, you should see some of my favorite comments from yesterday's video. In addition to that, the funniest comment gets both pinned in the comment section and included in next episode as well. And finally, guys, I didn't get any submissions of video analysis yesterday, so I'm going to remind you again, if you follow me on Twitter and you want to send me a DM of a 10 to 15, maybe 20-second analysis of what you thought of your favorite news bit in the previous episode, I will include one of these videos in each and every episode every single day. So for example, if you wanted to talk about what you thought about Paul George going to the Lakers yesterday, I would have included it in the very beginning of today's episode. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Be sure to subscribe and like to keep this series going. And without further ado, let's get this party started, bro. We have a lot to talk about today. So we're gonna start off today with some of the funniest news I've ever seen in a while. Markelle Fultz signed with Nike this past weekend, but he said prior to signing with Nike, he considered signing with the Big Baller brand. Now, personally, I'm not sure if he's being dead serious or if this was a joke, because Big Baller brand was presented to us as the exclusive brand for the Ball family. And not to discriminate Markelle, but bro, with all due respect, you aren't a member of the Ball family. Perhaps Markelle approached LeVar Ball about joining Big Baller brand and got turned down. Either way, I would have loved to see this happen. Now, in one of my first episodes making this series, I mentioned how Andre Iguodala was leaning towards staying with the Golden State Warriors due to the success the Warriors are having and the fact that the $8 to $12 million he'd receive wasn't that far off from what he would receive from other teams before the inflated cap of last year. However, that may not be the case after all, because according to Shams Charania of The Vertical, Andre Iguodala will seriously consider other teams this offseason. And the Utah Jazz, Los Angeles Clippers, Chicago Bulls, Minnesota Timberwolves, and Atlanta Hawks are considered the most likely destinations. While he expects whichever team he joins to be working its way towards contention, he could also be worth as much as $20 million per year in the open market, despite only averaging 7.9 points per game with the Warriors after averaging 15 points per game in his first 9 seasons. Iguodala is a very valuable commodity to have, considering how he brings a championship pedigree to whichever team he joins. This pedigree would make for a valuable locker room presence on top of his abilities on both the offensive and defensive end, as whichever team he chooses looks to push towards contention. Do you think Andre Iguodala will leave? Or do you think the success with the Golden State Warriors is too much for him to pass up? Let me know in the comment section down below. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the Paul George race is heating up as the Los Angeles Clippers enter the mix for looking to sign the Indiana Pacers star, but it would be happening in the form of a sign and trade. The Clippers have Blake Griffin, Chris Paul, and JJ Redick available to sign and trade, but the odds of this happening are extremely unlikely. Adding George at the expense of Griffin or Paul would not make the Clippers any closer to dethroning the Warriors as the team to beat in the Western Conference. That makes Redick the only feasible sign and trade player for George, and there is no scenario that actually makes sense for this deal to go down, considering how Redick is 33 years old. The Los Angeles Lakers remain interested, but according to Adrian Wojnarowski of The Vertical, the Lakers remain adamant about keeping Brandon Ingram on the roster, and in addition to that, said that they are unwilling to part with this year's number 2 overall draft pick. Laker Nation's Ryan Ward speculated that Julius Randle could be included in the deal, while Bleacher Report's Eric Pincus added that Jordan Clarkson is a possibility as well, noting that Indiana could hold out for more. D'Angelo Russell may be an option as well, considering how the Lakers are dangling D'Lo to acquire a top 12 draft pick, which in my opinion seems completely counterintuitive. But bear in mind, I've always been a huge D'Angelo Russell defender, despite him ignoring me on FaceTime a year ago when I finally got a chance to talk to my favorite Laker at the time.
So this kid D right here, I just did a sign-in with these kids. I'm at the car show and they YouTube, and this kid's on YouTube. He said you are his favorite player. What is that hair doing? What are you?
You wanna see him?
What are you doing?
I'll do a backflip for that guy right now.
If you think about it, D'Angelo was thrust into an unfavorable situation in year 1 with the Kobe Bryant farewell tour, and with Byron Scott as his head coach. In year 2, D'Angelo Russell started the year off strong until an injury set him out for a few weeks, and he looked a little shaky upon his return. Personally, as a Laker fan, I would not like to see the Lakers trade D'Angelo Russell at all, but it looks like the Lakers and Pacers are headed into a very high-stakes game of cat and mouse combined with chicken, as we get to see who backs down first. My bet is the Pacers, considering how they do not have much leverage at the moment. But the good news is that they do have options, as David Aldridge reported yesterday that the Wizards are looking to make a trade for Paul George. The Wizards would not be willing to part with Bradley Beal, but could potentially part with Otto Porter. However, a sign and trade with Otto Porter can lead to Porter losing tens of millions of dollars. But perhaps he will be willing to do that to go to Indiana, where he would have the opportunity to be a go-to player with Miles Turner on a new team. However, it is fairly unlikely the Wizards would do this because Paul George remained adamant that he will leave to Los Angeles in 2018. So if the Wizards make this trade, they better be confident that George can get them past the Cavaliers to the NBA Finals. Otherwise, they may risk giving up Otto Porter for nothing if this trade were to happen. Now, Jimmy Butler's stock is also at an all-time high right now because there are 2 more guaranteed years on his current deal that was signed prior to the inflated salary cap. According to ESPN.com's Mark Stein, the Cleveland Cavaliers are working on potential trade proposals. Cleveland would include Kevin Love in the trade and attempt to find a third team to provide the assets necessary to complete the deal. CSN Chicago's Vincent Goodwill reported the Boston Celtics and the Phoenix Suns are also showing interest, with Woj throwing the Minnesota Timberwolves into the mix as well. Jimmy Butler is rumored to be in favor of a trade to the Cavs, and sources indicate that Butler has spoken to LeBron James and Kyrie Irving, and that indications are Butler may push the Bulls front office to send them to the defending Eastern Conference champs. Oddly enough, as these trade talks were going down, Cleveland Cavaliers general manager David Griffin released this statement and resigned as GM. As of today, I am stepping down from my role as GM of the Cavs. Our basketball family at the CCC and at the Q has experienced unprecedented success both on the floor and off, and I am deeply appreciative of the opportunity Dan Gilbert and his ownership group afforded us to build and lead this world championship caliber organization. I am certain that the organization and the incredibly dedicated and passionate team that puts their heart and souls into this daily will continue to push towards even greater heights. My wife Meredith and I will continue to be vested in the success of Believeland and can't thank the fans of this great city enough for the kindness you have all shown us. I am extremely excited for my next challenge in the NBA. And this is the part where it gets kind of like, whoa, because we kind of get an idea of why he left here. However, Dan and I know that are a team built largely on the concept of fit, and we are now at a point where fit is not right for us to continue with one another. David Aldridge shared the Cavaliers statement as well. The Cleveland Cavaliers and its general manager David Griffin have mutually decided not to extend David's current contract, which ends June 30th, 2017. On behalf of the entire organization, I would like to thank Griff for his leadership and many contributions during his time here, including most recently his role in the franchise's first NBA championship. We have no announcement at this time related to the new leadership of the Cavaliers basketball operations group, but we are confident our current front office will continue to aggressively explore and pursue opportunities to improve our team in the weeks ahead. Woj of The Vertical reported that former NBA player and champion Chauncey Billups is a potential candidate for the opening. Woj also cited a source who said Cleveland and Griffin just couldn't agree on the future, while Dave McManaman said Griffin removed himself from consideration when it became clear his vision for Cleveland didn't match Dan Gilbert's. In the meantime, assistant GM Kobe Altman is currently handling trade phone calls for the Cavs. What is also surprising is Cavs assistant GM Trent Redden, who is very highly respected around the league, is also out. So the Cavaliers are doing a complete front office house cleaning. LeBron James tweeted out in support of David Griffin, thanking him for his continuous pursuit of putting together a title contender and helping LeBron James bring a title to Cleveland. Regardless, the Cavs franchise is in limbo with Griffin leaving, and with LeBron James as a free agent in 2018 and the roster needing upgrading now, there is no worse time for a front office cleaning. In other news, earlier on Monday, Bruce Arthur of the Toronto Star cited multiple league sources who said that Kyle Lowry has been grumbling about dissatisfaction with the Raptors for months, and he would have zero interest in returning to Toronto even if he was to receive a 5-year maximum deal. Kyle Lowry later tweeted this to put all Raptors fans at ease. Perhaps now that the Sixers traded for Markelle Fultz, Lowry couldn't find a more appealing place to go to other than Toronto. To end today's news, we just received a report from Woj that there is a frenzy of interest from teams hoping to potentially acquire KRISTAPS Porzingis. Is it Porzingis or Porzingis? I always get roasted in the comment section for this. I always get it wrong. I think it's Porzingis. Woj also reported that Jackson has spoken with Arizona forward Lauri Markkanen, whom the Knicks may consider selecting Thursday with the 8th overall pick as a replacement for Porzingis if he gets traded. While Porzingis is among the NBA's fastest rising stars, there has been some indication he may not be happy in the Big Apple, as he skipped exit meetings with the Knicks management in April because of frustration over dysfunction within the organization. This comes to no surprise, as Phil Jackson has pushed to trade Carmelo Anthony all year long, which has led to not only discomfort but awful locker room dysfunction. According to Woj, the Knicks had the opportunity to sign Chris Paul if Phil Jackson did not alienate Carmelo Anthony. Phil Jackson and Melo should have been walking arm in arm to go greet Chris Paul for free agency. There was an opportunity to get CP3 on this market. He may stay in LA, and part of it might be because there's nowhere else to go that makes perfect sense that is worth giving up the money for. Bear in mind that in 2012, during the lockout, Chris Paul made a toast at Carmelo Anthony and Lala Vasquez's wedding, and toasted to the hope that Carmelo Anthony and Chris Paul wind up playing on the same team together someday. Regardless, New York should have been in the Chris Paul conversation. Whatever you think of Carmelo Anthony, he is extremely popular with that elite group of players, and I think Phil Jackson has done such a disservice to the chances the Knicks have of getting involved with anybody. Carmelo is a cautionary tale of why you do not want to go to the New York Knicks. Now that's going to be it for today's news, man. Let me know in the comment section what you think about what we talked about today, and of course DM me your video responses for a chance to be included in our next episode. Besides that, man, I'm your boy TheFlightMike. Thank you all for support. I'm signing out, baby.